Welcome back to LEGO by the Book. I'm Captain Xavier. Today I'm going to be building set 6208, the B-Wing fighter from, I believe, 2005. That's what it says on the box anyway, so I have no reason to doubt them. This is the third of the B-Wings that I have. I have the B-Wing, the next generation, and the first generation. So I have 3 full generations of B-Wings. I actually have 3 generations of all the Rebel starfighters at this point. Those 3 eras, the first, second, and third generation, which is actually really cool seeing the evolution of them all. And in some cases, the second were better than the third, and sometimes the third were much better than the other ones. And there's little details that they got right in one, and then they got it wrong in the next, and little things like that. But it's really neat to see the evolution and the progression. So let's get this open and get this built. My neighbors have apparently set up a shooting range within hearing distance of my house. So please excuse the ongoing barrage. Alright, we've got an instruction manual. Very nice. We've got, oh, it's the old perforated bags. That makes me happy. They're not numbered, so we're just going to dump them. Feels like happiness. Alright, well, I'm going to try to talk through this. We will see how possible that remains given the barrage in the background. But the B-Wing was always my favorite starfighter from the Rebels. Mostly because of the video game. I mean, you only briefly see it in Empire Strikes Back, and then it's come up in the expanded universe, and it's come up obviously in the video games, and it's shown up in the movies again, but never to the extent that you see the other stuff. I understand it had a fairly significant role in one of the cartoons, probably Rebels, and I just haven't seen that all the way through yet. Interesting. So they've given us 2 pilots. Oh, put his eyes around upside down. A non-fancy helmeted, red-suited, regular-faced pilot, and then a white-suited, fancy helmeted, I believe it's meant to be a Celestian. I could be wrong about that. Good Lord. Just noise. Making noise. Alright. Let's get this built. Anyway, like I said, B-Wing. Always my favorite. I liked how much firepower it had in the video game. Because it had the 3 laser cannons, 2 ion cannons, missile launchers, heavy shields, heavy armor. It was, if I recall, a little bit faster than the Y-Wing, but had heavier shields and heavier armor. I want to say it could hold more, had a larger payload, so it would hold more rockets or more missiles or whatever you armed it with. It wasn't the most maneuverable, but not supposed to be. That's what your interceptors and your dogfighters, your A-Wings and your X-Wings are the ones that are meant to be engaging enemy fighters. It was great for taking out capital ships. Oh, the other thing that it had, if I didn't already mention this, it had 2 ion cannons in addition to the 2 laser cannons. So they were used for disabling and capturing enemy capital ships. And there was one particular mission. Oh, it was a mission that took me so long. There were 2 missions in X-Wing that took me forever to successfully beat. And they held me up in being able to get to the Death Star and do the trench run and the finale of the game for so long. Years, in fact. There was one that was essentially an escort mission, and we all know how horrible those are. Where it's not you have to keep yourself alive, you have to keep some idiot AI alive that apparently has no sense of self-preservation. Train. And in this case, you're trying to rescue a stranded transport. Or not transport, freighter. The freighter has been disabled, and when you first get there, it's being boarded by Imperial ships. So you have to get in, destroy the shuttle before it has time to capture the freighter. And if you were able to do that, then your own shuttle will arrive, and your boarding team will attempt to capture the shuttle. That doesn't seem like that's the right length. Must be another longer one. In the meantime, as soon as your freighter, your shuttle jumps in, a Star Destroyer jumps in as well. And starts throwing fighters and bombers and everything else at you. And it's just you in an A-wing, if I remember correctly. And they keep sending waves of fighters, and you're limited on how many missiles you have, and you are, like I said, all by yourself, and they're throwing a Star Destroyer's worth of fighters at you, but luckily they're sending them in small amounts at a time. Oh, that's just fascinating. And they're not trying to recapture it. They've given up on capturing it. They just want to blow it up. So the ships that they're sending, they send interceptors, they send fighters, and they send bombers. The interceptors and the fighters, of course, target you, while the bombers are just trying to get past you to attack the ship. And they don't have to actually get terribly close to it, because their torpedoes have excellent range, and they are perfectly happy to fire from maximum range and let them blow them up. So, however, if you are able to shoot the fighters even a little bit, they will break formation and evade you, and it'll generally give you enough time to blow them up before they can get set up for another torpedo run. You didn't get a whole lot of chances, because the shields on the ship are already down, they've already been disabled, they cannot take a whole lot of hits. Another train. Interesting. missed a step. And I had the hardest time keeping that freighter alive long enough for the team to capture it. Somebody would get past me, or I would end up getting blown up. They'd manage to get their torpedoes off, and I wouldn't be able to shoot them down. You could try to shoot torpedoes out of the... blow them out of space, but they were hard to target. And they were generally traveling faster than you were. Though an A-wing, I think if you cranked everything into your engine, you could chase them down, but then you lost your shields and it was easy for the enemy to take you out. And I wasn't as great at strategy and at game theory as I am. Better now. I'm still not an expert, but it took me forever. That mission held me up for a very long time, and then when I finally got past it, I got stuck on a different mission. The mission to capture, I want to say, the Priam. I could have the name wrong. But you were trying to disable and capture a Nebulan B frigate. And those things were surprisingly tough. Had a lot of firepower, crank out a lot of ships. They were also dropping fighters like it was going out of business. And you were again in an A-wing. So you weren't actually responsible for disabling the enemy ship. It's weird. You were responsible for covering the team that was responsible for disabling the ship. So it was, in essence, another escort mission. What you were defending were a series of waves of Y-wings that were coming in and trying to disable this ship. Trying being the key word there, because they would just do straight suicidal runs straight at the thing. Firing their ion cannons, making no attempt to evade, no attempt to... nothing. Just straight at it. And the only thing that you could do was you could fire, if you saved your missiles, you could fire all of your missiles at it in the hope to take at least some of the shields down, though you couldn't disable the shields entirely yourself. You did not have enough missiles to do that. But you could help. But the real trick was, as soon as the Y-wings set up for their attack run, which they did not do a good job of communicating or really coordinating, you could attack the frigate. And when you shot at the frigate would then shoot at you. And since you were in an A-wing and were fast and nimble, you could hypothetically dodge. But you had to be wily, you had to move quickly, you had to weave, and more often than not, you failed and you ended up getting blown up by the frigate. And of course you then failed the mission. But if you managed to do it, and again, this one took me, I have no idea how long, but it took me many, many, many tries and a great deal of frustration to finally beat that mission. Just escort missions. They're just the worst. And then once you disable it, it doesn't get any easier. Because as soon as you disable it, a whole mess of boarding craft show up. Troop transports that go inside, shuttle teams that dock on the outside and try to take the bridge, and all of these units. And the Y-Wings leave, and they don't bother to send more fighter escorts. And if I remember correctly, then wave after wave after wave of Imperial assault gunboats start jumping in on you. And those things had heavy shields, heavy armor, and a lot of missiles. And they would blow you up, or they would blow up one of the transports that were on the outside. And if they did, you failed the mission. And the thing about X-Wing is there did exist cheat codes. Or not really cheat codes. If you went into the settings, there was a God mode where you couldn't be killed. And there was also an infinite ammo, which made it a whole lot easier because you could just dump missiles into the ship until the shields went down. Am I looking for the wrong color? No, I don't think I am. I'm just not seeing it. Oh, there it is. So, again, it became an escort mission, trying to keep the boarding craft alive while you're being assaulted by endless enemy reinforcements, while you get no reinforcements. Surely they could have spared a couple of extra fighters if you were taking on a capital ship. But I'm not in charge. Anyway, finally beat that. And then all the missions after that were pretty much a cakewalk. Ryan? No shooting. I don't know how much of the background noise you guys can hear, but it's very loud for me. But the point of all this, what any of this has to do with the B-Wing, is later in the game when you got the expansions, they introduced the B-Wing. The B-Wing was a ship that you could fly later on, and it was introduced later in the Rebellion. And as a demonstration of how much better the B-Wing was, that you got to redo that mission, the capturing of that frigate, but you got to fly the B-Wing this time. So not only was it no longer an escort mission, not only was it no longer an escort mission, you had a significantly superior fighter to begin with. Because the B-Wing is demonstrably better than the Y-Wing in pretty much every important respect. It's got better armor, better shields, more firepower. And that mission was so ridiculously easy with a B-Wing. Because you let... I don't even know if you had wingmen. I don't know if it might have been a solo mission, and it was still ridiculously easy. I think you had an A-wing escort, so you let the A-wing go in and draw fire, and then you pummeled it with every single torpedo that you had, which took the shields down in pretty much. I'm pretty sure you could take the shields out. Just with your torpedoes, and then it took almost nothing with the ion cannons to disable it. And that was that. And what was really annoying was that in the original mission, the Y-Wings did not use their torpedoes to take out the shields. They were just doing suicide runs, essentially. Using their ion cannons. It's coming together nicely. All right. Set that aside for a second. Yeah. I liked the B-Wing. I liked the rotating cockpit. I liked that it has S-foils and all of that. I always liked that it was a heavy fighter bomber, similar to the Y-Wing, but more powerful. And then I got the game TIE Fighter, and in TIE Fighter they introduced a thoroughly overpowered ship in the form of the TIE Defender. Which was very distinctly introduced as a, we want to give you something that is better than anything that the Rebels have. And I will talk about that when I build a TIE Defender on this channel, because I have one. Well, I don't actually own the set, but I was able to build it anyway. Alright. Now, I always imagined that with the 3 wings and all of that, that it would be able to fire some sort of a super smaller version of a super laser. And as I understand it, that did end up canon. So apparently they did it once and then decided, oh, that's cheating, that's not fair, let's never speak of this again. For whatever reason, because it apparently never comes up again. Probably felt it was unsporting. Who knows? Again, I don't make the rules. I will say in the original canon, it was originally designed by Admiral Akbar to fulfill the need of a heavier fighter, because the Rebel Alliance simply could not keep up with the industrial military complex that is the Empire. So I needed something with a bit more kick. And, well, the Y-Wing definitely fills that, or the B-Wing fills that role nicely. General rule, I don't like stickers, but I will go ahead and put these on. See if I can figure out which way this goes on. So this is this one. It's a thing. I see how that's going to work. Alright. Alright. That's clever. It got really warm here for a couple of days and I did not like it. I need to get some sort of air conditioning going on up here in the Lego room or I'm not going to be able to come up here. It doesn't get too hot enough to like melt Lego. Like, some people are actually worried about that, which is silly. It's definitely not that bad. If it was that bad, it would be a fire hazard. But it is uncomfortably warm to sit up here. So, looking into various options. Problem is the windows up here are not conducive to air conditioning units. They come from a time before then. They slide sideways and I don't think they slide enough. Oh, this one might. I might be able to get one in here, but then I'm going to have an AC unit sitting right in front of me while I'm filming, which I mean I could turn it off while I film and just suffer for the extent of the video. It's not too bad. Alright. We've got that much. I like that. Let's build another wing. I need to get around to watching Rebels because, like I said, I believe the B-wing got some screen time, and I appreciate that because it just doesn't get enough love. Or used to not. I mean, there's at least 4 versions. Yeah, there's at least 4 Lego versions of it. There's the 3 that I have, and then there's a UCS version that I would love to get my hands on, but it is very pricey. Might be worth it someday. I have the X-Wing and the Y-Wing. The story behind the Y-Wing is hilarious, in my opinion. Why I have a UCS Y-Wing. And the A-Wing and the B-Wing were always my 2 favorite ships, so Rebel ships anyway. So I have the 2 that I like the least and don't have either of my favorites. But I imagine it's only a matter of time. Never understood why it was called the B-Wing when it's very clearly a T. But again, I don't make the rules. Alright. That's the body. Let's get on to... I'm not sure what these are supposed to be. Fuel pods? Okay. I like it. Coming along nicely so far. Now we build the shoulders, and it looks like the neck. Something like that. half of the cockpit. Okay. Now, the front part of the cockpit. Oh. There is the completed fighter. The cockpit looks okay when it's in that configuration. When it's sideways, it kind of has a not quite right. It's not round. It's very much ovoid, but the wings swing out nicely. The proportions are excellent. I think feels like this one, the lower wing, might not be quite right. We'll see. We will see. But now we get to build whatever it is you build with the rest of these parts. Because there's clearly still a lot of parts. And they're yellow. Weird. It's weird, I tell you. Okay. Oh, it just keeps going. We have the usual expected spare parts. And then what we have here is apparently a landing platform kind of deal, where this lands like that. Which I do not believe for a second that this ship was designed to dock standing up. That would be ridiculous. Not only would it require an incredibly tall hangar, but how are you supposed to get up here? Climb? Surely not. Surely it lands like a sane and reasonable ship, and then takes off and then turns. But this is certainly better for, you know, display purposes, if you want to have it displayed thusly. Quite lovely. I like this one. There's a lot of sloped parts. It has the thicker, like all of these angled plates makes for very thick wings, very stout design. It doesn't feel frail like one of the earlier ones did. I will be building all of the various Rebel ships, pretty much all the Star Wars sets that I have for this channel. And once I have done all three of a ship, then I will compare the three generations that I have, the first, second, and third generation ships, so you can really see the difference and the improvements that they made throughout the years, how every successive generation got better. And sometimes, like I said, they took a step back here and there, but all in all, it'll be interesting to see how they all stand up to each other. Really like how they did this. Now, it does have an action feature, which I did not anticipate until towards the end. I thought that it was going to end up actually having wings that folded out like the X-Wing, where they're, you know, you pull a knob. But it turns out what it has are rubber band loaded torpedo launchers. So you load them in the front, and then there's a knob on the back that you pull, and there's a rubber band in there. I don't think it's supposed to pop off like that, though. But it doesn't fire particularly well. This was before, I think, they had the spring-loaded laser launchers that they like putting in everything now, and some of them look good and some of them not so much. But I thought that was a creative way of doing that. I like that. And they actually have holders for it here on this. I think it's interesting that they gave you what are distinctly two pilots rather than a pilot and a ground crew. Some of the previous ones came with ground crew, but this one did not. These are both definitely supposed to be pilots, so it seems. I'm not sure where this guy came from. I don't recall ever seeing him anywhere in the Star Wars universe. His torso's printed a little off-center as well. But, yeah, I think it's neat. I think it's neat. This will go in the collection, along with, on the same shelf as the Y-Wing from this era that I just acquired, and there's a fun story with that I will get into. Alright, I have blathered quite enough. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching.